And so I want to encourage agents to say, this is happening, um, complaining about it or dwelling on it or hoping for a miracle on this isn't really going to do you any service. This is Byron Lazine and Nicole White, and you are tuned into episode 309 of The Real Word.
Word is up.
And Nicole is back up
I'm
from the
back.
Caribbean. That's why we canceled last week.
Oh, you canceled? I was like, "Oh, man, 2 weeks in a row. They haven't seen my face. They probably think I'm just glad
Well,
that you're taking me
y-
back."
you couldn't come on with Notorious ROP. That's the last Real Word we did. By
Yeah.
the way, after you're done listening to this, if you missed myself and Notorious ROB, you've got to go back and
Gotta.
listen or rewatch that. That was an incredible pod. Nicole, we were both equally bummed that you
I'm
couldn't be a part of that. You
I'm
had no
really
voice that week.
you heard my voice.
It was I gotta say, Nicole had like no voice at all, and it was almost annoying to listen to because she was squeaking and eking words out.
Oh,
And it's like, okay, it's so I can hear the struggle so much that it's hard to listen to when somebody
and
has
it was
absolutely no voice.
forever. I feel like it took me almost 2 or 3 weeks to get it back, but
Yeah.
I'm
And
here.
then you went to the Caribbean and had a great time, and now you're back. So the real word is
Back.
back, and we're pleased to be with you. Hit the thumbs up, and let's get right into it. The DOJ made a major announcement while you were gone, Nicole, and they want to decouple commissions. So there's a consumer watchdog, the CFA, which has been, pushing this since 2022. Inman actually has a great piece on NAR's response, which we're going to get into. But the U.S. Department of Justice came out in favor of completely prohibiting home sellers from making commission offers to buyer brokers. And the NAR has now responded. Okay, so I think everybody at this point knows the DOJ submitted this statement of interest. It's in a case, a rule similar to NAR rule known as Nozalic. In that legal filing, the federal agency rejected rule changes in a proposed settlement and instead called for an injunction that would prohibit sellers from making commission offers to buyer brokers at all, thereby promoting competition and innovation between buyer brokers because buyers would be empowered to negotiate directly with their own brokers. So the move would decouple commissions, a change Consumer Watchdog, the Consumer Federation of America, they've been pushing since 2022 that I mentioned. The DOJ emphasized that change. So here's the big takeaway that I think is different from where everybody's hearing, okay, DOJ wants to end cooperation in the MLS. They want to make it basically illegal. The
Illegal.
DOJ stance is
Right.
you can't offer commission as the listing broker in the MLS, the cooperation rule, and you're not allowed as the listing broker to pay the buy side broker. Now, where I think a lot of commentary, a lot of people haven't commented on is that the DOJ, this is according to Inman, emphasized that change in decoupling commissions would not necessarily force buyers to pay commissions out of pocket. Okay, because everyone's like, oh, buyers paying out of pocket, not going to happen, whatever. It would not necessarily force them to pay out of pocket because buyers could, in their home purchase offer, so their purchase and sale agreement, that whatever it is in your market, that offer that they're making to buy the property, they could request that the seller pay the buyer's broker from the proceeds of the home sale. So they can't really make a rule that says the seller couldn't pay the buyer broker directly if negotiated. Okay. Now, there's obviously, Nicole, an argument. It's like, well, why would you? And this is the NAR statement. Here's their reaction. Mantel Williams, the spokesperson for NAR, said the statement of interest confirms that the DOJ wants to regulate what sellers and their listing agents are allowed to do with their own money and their home. So saying,
Right.
hey, listing agents are paid, money. They want to go and offer some of that money, or sellers want to make that decision that they want that
Offer out.
cooperation
Right.
being out front on their sale. And so that's NAR's position. Prohibiting all offers of compensation will harm consumers, including by making it more costly for homebuyers to access capable representation and by reducing access to fair housing. That this is another NAR comment from the spokesperson. There's a great deal at stake for buyers and sellers all across the country, and NAR will continue to work in and out of court toward the best possible outcome for property owners in America and the professionals who represent them. Okay, so that's NAR stance. DOJ stance is obviously one that they believe this is going to create more of a negotiation standpoint for buyers. That's certainly up to debate. To me, Nicole, and we talked about this a little bit on Friday in the Knowledge Burgers podcast I did with Lisa and Tom. I,
Mhm.
it's not that, oh, could this happen at this point? It's this is happening.
Oh, for sure.
Okay.
100% it's happening. Yeah.
And so I want to encourage agents to say, this is happening. Complaining about it or dwelling on it or hoping for a miracle on this isn't really going to do you any service. The regulation, and you can call this a government overreach. I wouldn't necessarily disagree. But the regulation that has happened to many industries is going to happen here. There's going to be significant regulation on how you operate. It's going to be a different set of rules, and now figuring out how to, um, build your business in that new set of rules is how we need to go moving forward. Nicole, your reaction to buyers submitting offers that are asking the seller
Yeah.
to pay their buyer agent in the purchase agreement. How do you think that plays out?
Agents looking to stand out from the crowd, Reminder Media is a resource you have to check out. You get your own branded print in digital magazines, email newsletters, and social media content. Reminder Media delivers these resources to your contacts on autopilot, keeping you top of mind with your database. All you need to do is focus on your follow-up calls and watch referrals and repeat business come in. I just started using this service and I'm already seeing results from this after only a few weeks. Use the link below to try out Reminder Media.
I think it'll be very interesting because now it's a whole nother layer of an offer, right? And we were sort of talking about it before, if I just saw on Facebook someone got like 21 offers on one of their listings. Could you imagine losing an offer because you were asking for like $2,500 for your agent instead of like $2,400? So
Where'd you get did you pull the 2,500 out of the air, Nicole?
I
Where did you get
did.
that
I did.
number
I'm
of
just I'm
bananas?
just pulling I'm just pulling numbers. I didn't wanna say percentages. I don't wanna, should we talk bananas? I know that that's what Tom Ferry likes, but,
Bananas,
um
flat fees, percentages, it's all negotiable, folks.
100%. Yeah. So it'll be very interesting because now it's a whole nother layer of is your buyer now going to be pissed if they didn't get a house because you were greedy and wanted money, or are agents actually going to start taking $0 because they don't want their clients to like lose a house? So it's all very interesting. Where I'm really interested to see is the is sort of what the mortgage side will potentially do. How will they react to this? Are they going to make it easier for buyers to finance that, or again, I'm sort of curious to see what that industry is going to do in reaction to this too.
Stephen Brobeck, who is a CFA senior fellow, said it is also likely that there will be a greater variation of agent compensation depending on factors such as agent experience
Right.
and the time spent on the sale. Okay, interesting there. So, an agent with more experience, more things to offer a buyer, might be getting a greater variation of that compensation as opposed to an agent who is brand new, lacks experience, or lacks the offerings behind them, whether that be from their team or their
Or
brokerage,
just honestly the confidence to ask for it.
confidence to negotiate,
Yeah.
and the skill set that is available, to them, or that they've been trained on to
Right.
negotiate. All those things are certainly a variable. But I would also add in there that compensation will depend on market conditions. To your point, Nicole, a 21 offer on a property, that there's going to be a level of competition there that the seller is going to have extreme leverage
For sure.
in selecting an offer that that is good for them, and whether that includes compensation or not,
Right.
they're going to pick a great offer out of 21 that meets their terms and their price and their time frame and all of that. So you can see where that could go, as opposed to, Nicole, like the market that you and I started our careers in, where there was 20, 30 months of inventory in many of the towns and
Right.
many of the price ranges that we were working in. We remember a time, Nicole, and let us know in the comments if you worked one of these one of these years in one of these markets. After the great financial crisis, we remember times when sellers were offering cars to buyer agents or the buyer themselves. They
Right.
were offering a commission and a bonus,
Bonus.
7-figure bonuses on top of commission, specifically to the buyer agent, not to their listing agent. It's like, okay, listing agent, here's the commission.
Right.
I want you to split that in a,
And now essentially that would
offering.
be illegal. That would not even be allowed.
According to the DOJ, that wouldn't be allowed, and so that's where in a market, and we're not in that market, but I'm just saying markets change. Inventory goes up. By the way, I've got my home on the market in Naples, Nicole. I don't think you know. Do you know that?
I knew I didn't know it was official.
Yeah. So it's on the market, and inventory
You
is.
love it. You love selling and buying and moving. You're
Oh
getting good
yeah,
at this.
I love it.
Love it.
I'm maybe the worst seller of all time, which is why I always hire an agent and negotiate a commission. Like in Florida, as a seller. Okay, so speaking as a seller,
Yeah.
I negotiated my commission, obviously with a fat referral fee because I'm an
Obviously.
agent. But obviously I said, hey, I want X amount to be offered out to the buyer agent pool, and in that market, inventory's up. Okay, there's significantly more inventory than there was a year ago. So I wanted to price competitively. I wanted to have an offer that was competitive and attractive
Right.
for buyer agents, just as the seller, and when you go into a market where inventory goes up, sellers are going to be disappointed if their listing agent is telling them, I can't make an offer of compensation to buyer agents. Would that maybe get some sellers to say, well, what the heck? I could do this as a for sale by owner and offer
Right.
great commissions. Like, you can't offer a commission to buyer agents. The homes
Yeah.
are sitting on the market for 6 months. I need to do everything I can to cut that time frame down to 2 months,
Right.
and I want to offer incentives. It's my house. I'm not allowed to do this.
Right. Right. Well, and I think what's really interesting though too is, you know, eh, I think we'll see a lot more, like dual agency situations too, where now buyers are going directly to the seller's agent because maybe they'll get a better deal, or maybe they won't even necessarily require a fee because they're already getting paid from the seller. But that seller may still really want them to strictly um, represent them solely. So it opens up like so it again. There's so many questions, and I agree with you. I mean, it does restrict a seller from doing what they want to sell their home. Yeah. And honestly, then they would probably be able, and I wonder then if they would be able, if, like you're saying, the for sale by owner, if they were selling it themselves, if they would be able to then offer out a compensation directly that way. Like on Zillow, like, hey, like I'm offering, or wherever you're selling it, they could potentially then offer out a compensation themselves then, right?
Since April, we have uploaded new and sought-after courses, content, and tactical assets for your business into the BAMX platform, not articles behind a paywall that only pontificate to you what you should think and do, but education that actually shows you how to do what you need in today's market. Every day, we continue to add more content into BAMX and our private Facebook community, content that works, content that our members have exclusive access to daily. It's why over 1,500 of you and climbing have joined us in BAMX. It's also why tomorrow's price is guaranteed to be higher than today's. That's called inflation. Do not wait any longer. Use code REALWORD and join the thousands of agents taking their business to the next level today. Code REALWORD for 10% off. See you in BAMX.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You know, there's a lot of these variables that can play out. Going back to the CFA, Brobeck, one of his comments here in the piece said agents could tell buyer and seller clients that it's quoted here in Inman as 2.5 to 3% rates were normal, 5 to 6% total, and agents could refuse to negotiate these rates, as many listing agents currently do, around 3/4. CFA has found. But Brobeck is saying that, okay, buyers could go and negotiate, and you could have buyer agents saying, here's my commission. And what they're calling a refuse to negotiate, I call negotiating. Okay. Like if I'm willing to walk away from the deal, that is a form of negotiation. Nicole, you're the buyer. I'm a buyer agent. I say, hey, here's my commission. Here's all the things that I'm offering.
Yeah.
Here's how our strategy sessions will look moving forward. Here's the service that I'll provide. Here's what my team will provide. And here's the terms of contracting me for these services. You say, well, I'd like to pay you X. I'm saying, hey, I'm sticking at Y,
Right.
and I'm willing to move on and just, go do work elsewhere. What they're saying is refuse to negotiate these rates. I don't have to negotiate down
Right.
to a lower rate. Now, I think it'll be smart for buyer agents and listing agents to have options. Hey, well, if you want to carve out these things,
Right.
I could do this.
Right.
I have this option. I have different options available. And I think that's going to be smart for buyer. But there are going to be some buyer agents that say, I have one set fee. I have one way that I do business. And I'm, just not moving off of my number. That's a form of negotiation. They're willing to walk away
Right.
from the deal. To ensure significant price competition, both buyers and sellers would need to discuss and try to negotiate compensation of their agents, Brobeck says. Even then, though, he said, rates would be unlikely to fall immediately. Yet over time, he could see a decline, which would save consumers money with much greater variation in the types of compensation, which I just alluded to, and rates charged by different agents. So doesn't believe the CFA, who's coming after this, obviously, since 2022, doesn't believe rates would fall significantly in the early stages. And I think that a lot of that has to do with agents are like, well, I don't have much incentive to work for free.
Right.
And there's been a long history of the business being done a certain way. Buyer agency has helped a lot of buyers get
Of course.
quality representation.
Of course. Well, it's interesting too because I'm sort of like carrying out all these scenarios in my head as you're talking. Because then I'm thinking, all right, even if you get the seller to then agree to pay, what if there is like a huge inspection item or the property doesn't appraise out? Like you're now in the thick of this deal, and now
As
your
an unrepresented buyer?
Well, no, I mean, I'm representing the buyer. The
Yeah.
seller has agreed to pay the commission in the
Okay.
contract,
Okay.
but now the property doesn't appraise out. So now potentially that seller is obviously making less money because, we have to reduce the price. So are they then attacking me again on that end to bring my commission down, which they've already there's so many additional layers to all of this that it's just it's all very interesting. It's all
Yeah,
very
the punchline here is what Kevin Sears, NAR's new president, which I think, Nicole, Kevin, when he's spoken, he's kind of been pretty authentic. He hasn't been as media trained and reading off of a screen.
Yeah.
And Sears has been in the business a long time. He warned agents recently, quote, the way that we operate our business is going to change.
Yep.
This is NAR president. It is going to change whether we embrace it and adapt, or it's going to be forced down our throats. Obviously referencing a DOJ
Right.
power move. Right now, the most likely avenue through which the DOJ's proposal could be made a reality would be the soonest, maybe when a judge in the Sitzer-Burnett case issues a final judgment. Could include an injunction this spring. So that, like, this spring might be the earliest that the DOJ rides that momentum and says, boom, new set of rules. The judge, Stephen Arbo, is currently weighing NAR and the other defendants' motions to set aside the jury's verdict or bearing that for a new trial. So, obviously some legalities there at play. DOJ made a settlement in the previous presidential administration. They've walked that settlement back, and now, has issued this statement here, the statement of interest. It's basically walking back that entire settlement from previous years. And I, listen, I agree with Kevin Sears, NAR president. The business is going to change if we continue to claim unfairness or whine. Notorious ROB made a great comment on the last pod. He's like, if we're publicly whining, does that put us in a perception from the judge, who's a human, that, geez, I really want to make something work for the agent community and the industry? And, people get upset. I mean, and again, does it hurt buyers? That'll be something that plays out over time, but you don't want to just go poking the bear for no reason. And so I like what Sears is saying. Like, we've got to start embracing the change and building it into our business plan today.
Well, right. And I mean, I think we've said this from the very beginning. We're solution based. Like, that's our business. Like, we have to have solutions to problems, and it's certainly not going to stop here when it comes to our own business. So
that's right. Yeah. Nicole's back. Hit the subscribe button so you don't miss another Real Word pod. I don't think we'll miss another week in the near future, Nicole. Right? You're not going away. You're not. I feel like now you jinxed us, but I probably have just jinxed. No, we'll be back, obviously, as we always are, Tuesdays at 2 p.m. Eastern, 11 on the West Coast, right here on the main channel. Hit subscribe, hit the thumbs up. Nicole, great pod. Great to have you back.
Thanks.
We'll see you next week. Keep it real.
See you guys.